Is your clutter affecting you energetically in all the wrong ways? I'm Candice Rodarty. This is Gratitude Geek, and today we are chatting with Kerry Thomas, who will share 5 simple ways to change the way your clutter affects your energy. Welcome, Kerry.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So tell us your story. How did you become so adept at clearing clutter?
Yes. Well, the beginning of my story starts with a career in special education, which I loved. And then I made a transition, some life changes, and a friend of mine introduced me to the idea of becoming a professional organizer. And I jumped. I couldn't believe that that was a possibility. And I started like you would think. Clearing homes, closets. I then got certified to work in businesses and did that for a while. And then when I did my TED Talk in 2017, which was about how clutter does affect us energetically, and people started reaching out and asking to be coached. And so now I meld all 3 aspects of organizing into my business. So no 2 clients are ever the same, and I love it.
S- let's talk about your TED Talk for a minute. That was
Yeah.
2017, so that was 8 years ago.
Uh-huh.
A lot of folks say that the TED Talk is the pivotal moment in their career,
It
and
was.
it sounds like it was.
It
So
was.
talk about that.
Yes, I honestly thought this is a bucket list item. Maybe my mom will watch it, maybe send it to a few friends. And I didn't put much thought into it, which in retrospect, I mean, I put thought, but I didn't overthink it. And in retrospect, that was what made it go viral
Mm.
because it was truly just from my heart, what I knew, part of my story, part of my clients' stories. And it now has, I think, 1.1 million views. And I still, as you mentioned, 8 years later, I still have people reach out directly from that. So it really struck a nerve, I think, with a lot of people. And it did change everything for me because before that, I didn't think of myself as a coach. I had been a teacher, as I mentioned, but the internal clutter part of things, the mental, emotional, spiritual clutter, that was almost an afterthought with my clients up until that point. And when it became so obvious that that was the core of what people wanted and needed. And even if they'd reached out as a business client, there was still that element. It really did change things for me. One, I had to learn and learn how to be a good coach. I had to delve into that, but it's really impacted all of my offerings since then.
What you said about the internal mind clutter as opposed to the external crap that we have. I mean, they both go hand in hand.
We all have some sort of mask, right? Whether it's hiding clutter or hiding something else, we all have some sort of mask that we're going through life with. And part of a, I don't know, a good, that's not a great word, but part of a good life is peeling that back and being comfortable with our true selves. But there are a lot of people who are hiding behind their clutter, hiding from their clutter, not willing to face it. But there's also a huge amount of shame. I've heard that word time and time again. I've worked with virtual clients who won't take their background off of Blur for, our first few sessions. And it always feels momentous when they finally trust me and say, okay, or when I go into a space, because there is a great deal of shame. And so if that person goes out into the world and never has anyone over and no one will know. So it's almost a double life.
Is it possible to have a clutter-free mind and a clutter-filled home?
No.
Okay. And
I'm
that's
just going to go right out on a limb and say no.
and that's how we lead into these 5 ways to overcome the clutter, the energetic
Yeah.
clutter. So talk to me about energetic clutter. What do you mean when you say that?
If you think of clutter, there are 2 definitions that I really like. One is by my friend and mentor, Barbara Hemphill. She coined the phrase, clutter is postponed decisions. So if you think about it, any type of clutter, you're really just putting off that decision. And that's why the clutter piles up. I have also come up with a definition as I work with my clients, and that is clutter is anything that keeps you from navigating your life with ease. So whether
Mm.
that's piles of stuff, the decisions that are piling up, the hurt in your heart, anything that's keeping you from navigating your life with ease. And then there are types of clutter, and there are many, many types, but to make it simple, we can think of physical clutter, which is the stuff, right? That's what we see. There's digital clutter, which is huge these days. And then there's what I group together and call internal clutter. And so that is mental, emotional, and spiritual are the main types. And as you mentioned, or as you alluded to in your question, they all work together. They're all intertwined. The good news is if you start and you work on something internally, you will have that result externally. And then the best example for when we do something external, how it affects us internal is we've all had that moment where we cleaned out a closet or cleaned out a drawer and you have that, that exhale. I hear the word lighter a lot from my clients. I feel lighter. I can breathe. All of those types of things are mentioned. When you clean one, you feel better in the other area. And it's like a circle. They affect each other.
Well, that's the way energy works. I'm not a quantum physicist, so I don't know the right terminology, but that is what
Right.
energy does.
Right.
It all works
Yeah.
together.
And I've seen it time and time again where the smallest changes, which is actually my first tip if you want me to jump into that, the s
Jump in. Tip number 1. Tip
the
number
sma
1.
the smallest changes have impact, which is why the first thing I would encourage people to do, if you don't know where to start, you're overwhelmed, declare, and I always actually declare a clutter-free zone. It can be tiny. It can be a counter. It can be the corner of a counter. I've had someone recently that in their office, which was, covered in paper, they declared the top of their printer. I've had people do kitchen tables, anything. The point being that you prove to yourself you can do it. You walk into that space, you see it clutter free. It does affect you energetically. It automatically gives you momentum and proves, even if you're not purposely walking in and looking at it, your subconscious is like, look what she did. We have a clean space and it stayed clean for 4 days or whatever it is.
Okay, not to throw my family under the bus, but how do you get everyone in the household on board? When there's more than one person in the home, the clutter isn't always yours.
No,
So
no.
how do we declare that this space right here is the clutter-free zone and all of us are going to honor that?
Okay, couple of ways, and I get this question a lot, so your family's not the only one under that bus. One strategy is to start with something that's just yours.
Mm,
Your nightstand, your
okay.
part of the bathroom counter. That is one way to do it, and then other people might see, other people might get on board. Once you feel confident, because a lot of people they don't have the confidence to say, hey, we're going to keep this counter clear because they don't trust themselves yet. So do something small that's yours. Then when you have it, you can go on to your second clutter free zone and then bring in everybody else. Um,
So when you say clutter-free, you don't mean empty. You mean not extra stuff.
Right, right. It doesn't have to be empty. Sometimes it does help if you empty a small area just to feel that. But no, life is going to happen and it's not going to stay perfect. All the clutter-free zones in my own home, they don't stay perfect. But one of the questions I have my clients ask themselves is, how quickly can you recover?
Mm.
And so that's when you know you've put in a good system, is that you are able to recover quickly. If you have a crazy day or you have company and things are just you still know where those things are supposed to go and you can recover quickly. So no, it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, kitchen counters, you might like the coffee pot and the toaster and that might be part of what you like on your counters. And so that would still be a clutter-free zone.
Mm, mhm.
Yeah.
It's just the coffee cup and the sugar that's been spilled over on the and the stain
Right.
of coffee around yeah,
Right.
all that can be
Right.
cleaned up quickly and recovered.
Right.
That's quick recovery.
You get that feeling of success, you get the momentum, And it does start little by little. And then once you do one, you can do a second one. Once you're ready, you can have your family on board. I've had some families say, whoever it is that's leading the charge, say, I feel good when these counters are clear, but we're going to start with this half of the counter. And then it's delaying it, but it's not, because it's proving that it can be done.
Mm, okay. All right. So the tip number one is start small.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
What's tip number two?
Clutter-free zone. Tip number 2 is a shift in your thinking when it comes to mail and email. Because what clogs our brain a lot is that it's constant, right? Mail is going to come every day, email is going to come every minute, whatever it is. So that creates some mental clutter, because we have those thoughts of, oh, it's never going to go away. I can't stay on top of it, fill in the blank. So that's creating that mental clutter. So what you can do energetically is shift the way you approach it, and never again say, I'm going to look at my email. I'm going to check my email. What I want you and your listeners to do going forward is process your email.
Process the email.
So you
Process
look at it
email.
and so I teach a system where
This
you,
is huge for me.
yeah,
Email is the bane of my existence.
yes. So you want to be
Process.
intentional. You want to know, okay, I am sitting down now. Now is email time. You want to decide whether things are action, whether it's reference, which can be filed away, or the rest of it is toss. You're getting rid of it. Delete, 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 delete. I don't like to delay deleting. I like to do it right then, but you're actually processing it and you're putting it in those buckets. Is this something I have to do? Is this something I have to save, which is reference, or is the rest of it toss? And if you go through very intentionally and process it, then you can go back and then deal with the things that were action. But you're not reacting to the email. You are in charge of the email. And if you just think of those two words, intentional and processing it, you're not looking at it, you're not checking it. Those two thought shifts really can change how you react and view the mail.
All right, let's dig into this a little deeper. I'm going to get personal.
Sure.
One time in my life, I managed to get to inbox zero. I was using Gmail as my email service at the time and had that little feature where you can delay it,
Oh, yeah.
snooze. It has a snooze button. And so most of what I did was snooze for later. But I had it so that there were zero emails in the inbox. And it just felt so good. But I've never been able to do it again.
Yeah.
So I'm not processing. I thought that when I got to the zero, it would be really easy to stay there. And it wasn't as easy as I thought it was. That's energy. I know that's
Yep.
energetic clutter.
Yep. I had
So,
a client last week that got to zero. She said, "Oh, I was at zero for 15 minutes." But but when you think about it, 20 is still way better than
oh,
100,000 or
yeah,
something like that. But
yeah.
I know this talk isn't necessarily about digital clutter, but there are a couple things that are not mine, but that I endorse. And one of them, you can just look it up on YouTube, is called the stack method. I am all about adapting to what works, which we'll talk about in a minute. But some of my clients use a stack method. Some of them use an adapted version of the stack method. I do like the principles. And then another tool that a lot of my clients like is called Maelstrom, and it's mailstrom.co. Again, I'm not affiliated with it. It's just a tool that a lot of my clients find extremely helpful for getting rid of large amounts of email when they don't want to declare email bankruptcy and just delete it all and start
Mm.
over. Maelstrom is very effective at that. So those are two tools I'll just throw out there.
I will put links to both of those in the show notes. All these tools will be in the show notes. And if you think that someone you know needs to hear about these 5 ways to get rid of energetic clutter in 2026, please do share this episode with them. Again, it's episode 306. All right. So tip 2 is to think about processing email and processing mail rather than reading it or going through it, or we're
Just
processing
looking.
it. And
Yeah,
that way it's systemized, and we love systems on the
exactly.
Gratitude Geek channel. We love
Exactly.
systems.
Live
Okay.
for system. Yes.
What is number 3?
A good system will win every day. So, yes.
That's right, that's right.
3 is to work with your strengths. And what I mean by that is, and I pull on my background in education, and I look at my clients and I have them all do an assessment to see what their learning style is. So, in simplest terms, are you visual? Are you an auditory learner? Are you kinesthetic? You learn by doing, tactile. And it,
I'm
and
kinesthetic.
so it matters, believe it or not, how you set up your environment, especially in your office or home office. It matters what learning style you are and how you set it up. So I look at learning style, and then we also all have our innate organizing style. Some people can't start a project until the surface, the desk is clear, that everything's perfect. Other people would panic because you messed up with their piles and they don't know where anything is anymore. And so we all have that innate organizing style as well as our learning style. And knowing it and working with it instead of against it really clears a lot of that energetic clutter, because you're in more in the flow and you're building upon your own strengths.
Mm. So how, if you don't know what your style, your learning style is, how do you figure it out?
There are so many quizzes online. Just type in learning style quiz. Many of them are built towards students. It'll have things like when you study for a test. But if you're still able to answer the questions, and they're almost all accurate, I've found.
Okay, so let's just really quickly give a hot tip for each of the styles.
Right. Okay. So visual, these are people that learn best by seeing things, by reading. That's a visual person. One, I'm going to have to give a couple. So one of my favorite tips for visual is in your workspace to have a variety of light and to play with the lighting a little bit, change it depending upon what you're trying to do, your focus, whether you need more energy, whether you're trying to be calm. So a combination of natural light, overhead lights, desktop lights. Lighting is big. If you're not feeling productive in your space, even try changing the light bulbs, or, mess with the lighting. If you're feeling off energetically, like you just, I'm not comfortable and I can't get stuff done, look at the lighting. That would be for a
Is
visual
there a
person.
particular color that works for visual learners, or is it just person by person?
That's a very good question that I feel as if I should know, and I don't.
Because I have heard that you shouldn't have blue lights at night.
Right, like the computer, and I actually have a pair of the glasses, the blue light blocker glasses that I'll
These
work in,
are
or
not them, but I do have a pair too.
that I'll wear. Yeah, that's a very good question that I'm gonna research, so thank you for pointing that
I
out.
when you create the resource that goes around with the answer to that, would you let me know, please, so I can share it with my
I will.
audience? Okay,
I will.
because I think
I
that
definitely will.
that's something I would really like to know too. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm not a visual learner, I am very kinesthetic, but, yeah, if I'm not taking notes and actually doing the math problem, I don't learn.
Right.
I have to touch it, which is the way I teach too. I don't lecture, I do workshops, which is why I
Mhm.
have not done a TED Talk, because I don't know how to do a 20-minute presentation without actually showing you how to do something. Right, right. So,
Exac
yeah.
Yeah,
So I
it's a different
yeah.
platform for sure.
Uh-huh,
Yeah.
uh-huh. We've done visual, now auditory.
Right, and I'll just say for visual
Oh,
also, try color coding. Visual people love color
oh,
coding. On your
okay.
calendar, in your space, on your light, color coding is your friend. All right, so auditory, those are the people that they're interesting because they do well with chimes, alarms, reminders, things like that. But then they also get distracted by those things at times. So I would say it's that fine balance of turning off your notifications when you're trying to concentrate, but then also using that tool and setting alarms for yourself, using different tones for different things. That's really helpful for auditory learners. I have one client who's extremely auditory, and to-do lists or any type of, whether it was paper, we tried it all. She, at night before she goes to bed, does a voice recording of her top 3 priorities for the next day, and she listens to it in the morning.
What a great tip.
Yeah, so that was one thing that really worked, and we went through quite a few before I I've I hit on that one, and she loves it. So those are a couple things for auditory.
What that was really important. You had to try many different things to get to the one that
Yes.
works. So just
Yes,
because something doesn't work doesn't mean there isn't a solution. You just
correct.
haven't tried them all yet.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
but don't give up too soon. I have people bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm like, or give it a little bit of time and then make a decision. Don't bounce around. But yes, I actually have a group program in addition to my private clients. And in my group program, we talk about all of the practical, physical, and digital stuff. And then we dive into the internal. And so the basis for the internal is obviously our thoughts and beliefs and things like that. But then we also look at what I call an internal clutter toolkit. And so I introduce them or teach everything that you can think of, whether it's tapping or journaling or meditation and the same thing, it's not all going to stick. Some people
mhm,
just sit and look like, yeah,
mhm,
no.
mhm,
And other people try it for a short
mhm.
time. But then when you hit on the thing that supports that mindset work, it's
Yeah.
gold.
I have a very similar philosophy. I think I teach all the things because I know that there might be something that works for someone, even the ones that don't work for me. Like, I know
Yeah.
this doesn't work for me, but it might work for you, so let's talk about it.
Hmm.
It's the same because your goal as a coach is to help your client.
Right.
And just because something doesn't work for me as the coach doesn't mean it's not going to work for Carrie if Carrie was my client,
Right.
and vice versa. Okay.
Right.
So, visual, auditory.
Then kinesthetic, I would say.
Selfishly, I'm going to pay attention very closely.
Okay, so I'm going to fire a few at you really quickly. One for kinesthetic is that the texture matters. So things like what pen you write with, even what your notebook, just the texture, whether it's leather or paper. If you're not loving something that's in your environment, try messing with the texture of it. The other thing that's important for kinesthetic is your seating. So whether you use a standing desk or whether you sit on a yoga ball or whether you have different areas of your space that you can move to and try sitting in. Those are helpful for kinesthetic as well.
I have a standing desk. I find that I work better when I'm standing, but sometimes you do need to sit. Like right now, I need to sit, and I'm really, really uncomfortable. So I go to the dentist like last week, I went to the dentist, and they had this chair that was just a saddle seat. And I was like, "Can I sit in that chair?" And it was fantastic because it
Oh,
positions you so that you're
mm,
leaning forward, your feet are on the ground, and I'm like, "I need this chair because it
yes. Yeah,
makes all the difference in the world." And I do
it
highly
does.
recommend a standing desk. It is the
Yeah.
best investment I ever made in my workflow because if when I am standing, I get so much more done. And I listen to music, like lo-fi hip hop in the background when I'm
Mhm,
working, and I will
mhm.
find myself dancing and getting crap done. And the next thing you know, I've completed a project and I was like, oh, wow, I'm done.
Yeah.
Look at how much I got done because I'm
Yeah.
in the right space and doing the right things.
Exactly. And you're honoring your tendencies, which
Hmm.
was the whole idea behind this tip. So, so the next tip is what people might more naturally think of for shifting energy in a space. And that is play with the actual environment as far as it relates to scents, sounds, and other things in your environment like plants, fresh air, just the actual environment. Really look at that. There are, studies that show, I don't, like peppermint is really good for rejuvenation and wakes you up. People even bring it on long drives.
Hmm.
Lemongrass is a scent that's known for helping people shift into the state of clearing things out. So lemongrass is good to either have or, to diffuse when you're working on things. But scents can change it. Sounds, you hit on the music. There are also different frequencies that you can listen to achieve different things, whether you want your space to be energized or calm or what you're trying to achieve. So play with that, with scents, sounds, and other elements like water or plants in your environment.
30 years ago, I can't believe I'm this old. My Aunt Rita, who I talk about very frequently on the show, she taught me about Baroque music. It's 60 beats per minute, which is what your heartbeat should be, right? Your resting heart rate. And that when you're listening to Baroque music, which is the same, lo-fi hip hop has the same rhythm, which is why I use the lo-fi hip hop. I mean, sometimes I use Baroque, but most of the time I use the lo-fi hip hop. I have a favorite playlist. But it's just that the rhythm is that 60 beats per minute. And it really just does put you in the zone, or it puts me in the zone because of the type of learner I am. But,
Yep.
again, not every one of these tips is going to work for everyone, right? You have to figure out
No,
which ones work for
exactly.
you.
And I have a playlist of focus music. If you just look on YouTube and type in like focus music, study music, whatever, there's so many. And I have a playlist, and some days I start and I push play and I'm like, no, 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 irritated. I can't listen to it today. So it's not always going to be the same. Even when you discover what works, sometimes you have to
And the
pivot.
project you're working on, if you're working on a project that really requires a lot of thought and you're creating something, that's a different energy than if you're working on something that's rote and unimportant but needs to get done.
Right.
The different. So, if it's not
Very.
that important, you know, it's whatever it's whatever routine works for you, right?
Mhm.
Just that's why you have to try so many different ways. All right, you said you
Yep.
had a lot of ideas for kinesthetic. Do you have any more?
Yeah. You're going back to that one, aren't you? Okay. One other one for kinesthetic. So we often, especially when I look at offices, we want everything within reach. I have what's called the magic 7 that we put in place for productivity. And yet with kinesthetic, I'll expand that out because I'm just going to say do better with an excuse to get up and move. So I set up zones in those type of offices. So not everything will be right near you. So you'll have to walk to use the printer. You might have a zone where you do your reading. That's a little bit more comfortable and again, different lighting. But so setting up zones for accomplishing different things cues your mind that, okay, now we're doing this task. Now we're doing this task. But it also gives you those excuses to get up and move. So that's helpful for kinesthetic as well.
I like the idea of having a little chair in the corner to read
Yeah.
in.
Another one for kinesthetic. I'm not a fan of sticky notes for a lot of reasons, but something where, like, if you have a whiteboard or a big calendar where you're actually moving things, you're manipulating either the topics or the events and you're moving them from space to space, that will stick in your mind much better than if you just read it or you hear it. If you actually, whether it's on index cards or something where you can manipulate the information yourself,
Kind of like one of
is
those
helpful.
Kanban spreadsheets where you can move things from
Mhm.
one place to
Com
another. I like the way those look. I don't implement them well. I like the way
uh
they look though. I'm really good at checklists. I'm check, done,
Yep,
check, 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 all done. So,
yep.
okay. Which is a kinesthetic thing. You're
It
checking.
is
Yeah,
extremely,
yeah,
extremely crossing. I have clients that you can't they have a method of crossing off things that are done. Some people like to check, some people like to put 3 lines, some people like to put squigglies.
yeah.
It's
Just
funny.
the act of marking through that it's done feels so good.
Mhm.
So, see, I told you I knew what I was.
Yes,
Okay,
completely.
I think we're on tip number 4.
No, 4 was I thought we were on 5. So we had clutter-free zone, process the mail, go with your strengths, learning style and organizing style, manipulate the things actually in your environment, the smells,
Oh, so
the
we sort of
sounds,
blended them together. Okay.
yep. So that was number 4. Number 5 is important. It's going to sound simple, but it's probably the most important. Celebrate your wins and have gratitude and appreciate how far you've come. Celebrate it all. Celebrate going from 20,000 emails to 10,000 emails. Celebrate your clutter-free zone. Celebrate that you were able to find the shirt in your closet that you didn't know you had anymore. Like, celebrate it all, which is also why I love my group program, because we don't celebrate often enough alone, but
Mm-hmm.
in community, you can celebrate. So you don't have to join a group program. Tell a friend, hey,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm on this journey of being a little more simplified and decluttering things. And is it okay if I brag to you
Yep.
when I do something?
Okay, community, if you are listening to this right now and you have something to celebrate, I want you to head over to Instagram, find Gratitude Geek on Instagram, find episode 306. It's a picture of me and Carrie, and tell us what you're celebrating right now.
Yes.
Go do that as soon as you stop the car. Go do that because we want to Carrie and I will celebrate with you. You can follow me on
Yes.
Instagram, Carrie, right? So we can both celebrate. I'll
Yes.
tag you. I'll tag
Definitely.
you in the
Okay.
post. All right.
Perfect.
Celebrate. We want to celebrate you and you need to celebrate yourself. So post
Mhm.
what you were celebrating today.
Yeah.
Awesome.
There are actual, and you know this, I mean, it's the title of your podcast, but there are studies that show that gratitude can shift more quickly than anything else. And so it's not silly or hokey to say celebrate, have gratitude.
Oh,
it
it's
it
quantum
shifts
physics or
completely.
quantum. Yeah,
Yes,
it's quantum physics.
completely.
It's, I don't know how it works. I'm not a quantum physicist. I just know that gratitude is quantified through quantum physics.
Yes,
The more you appreciate,
exactly.
the more you have to appreciate.
Correct.
Yeah. So
Correct.
talk about how adding gratitude to that decluttering process.
Yes, I love this question. So one of the things that I learned years ago, one of the gratitude strategies or practices, I don't know if you've ever heard of a 10 by 10 gratitude practice, where you write 10 things that you're grateful for that you actually have, or that you appreciate, like whatever you just drank, like my warm coffee or tea, like the I got to see my friends last night, whatever it is. You write 10 things, and I encourage my clients to include their organizing projects or their decluttering, whatever they're working on. And then you write 10 things that you're grateful for, but you don't see yet in your life. And when people
That's a
first
really
learn,
good way of saying that. 10 things that you're grateful for but don't see yet in your life. That is a really, really good way of phrasing that. Because that's a tough one for most people.
it is. It is because people have resistance to, oh, well, I don't believe in manifesting, or I don't believe, like, this is silly and it's not magic. And so I actually just taught this in my group on Monday, phrasing it that way and thinking of it as things you just don't see yet in your life. By writing, I'm a big believer in putting that pen or pencil to paper. By writing it and not just doing it in our head, it's cueing in our subconscious even more that, yes, these are the things I want. And yes, this is what I believe is coming. And yes, and the magic happens when you go from, okay, Carrie told me to do 10 and 10, and I'm going to write 10 and 10. When you go from that to just a daily practice where it just flows and you don't even realize that, okay, number 1 and 2 are things I actually have. 3 I don't have yet, but it just flowed out just as easily. And then 4 and 5. And so when you don't hold yourself to the 10 and 10 list, but it just flows out approximately 20 things. And when you can intersperse them, that's when you're really tapping into, like you said, the quantum physics, and our subconscious can't tell the difference
Mm-mm,
between what the things we're writing. So that's
mm-mm.
one of my favorite gratitude practices. I do introduce it to my clients because even if they've never done something like this before, they completely buy into writing. um, I'm grateful for my decluttered closet, even if they don't see it yet, or my um, my files where I can find everything I need, or whatever it is. They can visualize that more than writing something that's non-organizing related, I guess
Have
is
you
what I'm
ever
saying.
read have you ever read Noah St. John?
Mhm.
affirmations. I,
Yes.
I find that it's a lot easier for me to ask the question, why is my closet decluttered? Rather than I am grateful for my closet being decluttered because my closet
Mhm.
isn't decluttered. So why am I grateful for it? Whereas when I'm asking
Mhm.
which is Noah St. John's theory is
Right.
affirmations means you form the idea in your head by asking questions and your brain goes to work to solve it.
Right.
Well, the answer to why is my closet decluttered is because I got in there and I started decluttering it. And I
Right.
organized this it's overwhelming, but I organize this first, right? I'm going to organize this or whatever the answer comes up, you know, the the answer forms in your head. Some people work really well with the affirmations with the I am statements and some people don't. So knowing that there's two different ways of looking at it that get you to the
Mhm.
same place is always good.
Yep.
And I think
Yep.
it's something like 8%. Like it's a very small number of people can actually use affirmations well, whereas
Yes.
affirmations work for everybody.
I actually have a PDF that I created for my clients of questions that
Yeah.
they can ask around their organizing or their productivity or their so I can share that with you as well. It's
Excellent. There'll be a link to that in the
yeah.
show notes, y'all. Good,
Yep.
because it's I love that you did that activity for your.
Mhm.
Again, you took this moment in time in 2017 when you did your TED Talk and you turned it into something amazing, and you've helped so many thousands of people. Amazing.
Yeah, I just got chills. It's thank you.
That is inspired action. You didn't just have your TED Talk and then just leave it. People identified a need, and rather than just saying, "Oh, I'm not the right person for that," you decided that you were going to be the person, and you took the bull by the horns and
Mhm.
you did it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, did we
thank you.
finish number 5?
We did.
If someone can only do one of the 5 things right now, baby steps, what is that one thing?
I would declare even the tiniest clutter-free zone because you're setting the stage for future success. You're getting some momentum. You're proving you can do it, even if it's tiny. I would start
Excellent.
there.
2026 is gonna be your best year, y'all, because you're gonna do this activity. We're gonna clear the clutter energy, and we're gonna fix it together.
One statement that sums it all up is do what works for you, but just do it. Do something. But it doesn't have to make sense or work for anyone else. And it's you're doing this for you. There's no clutter police. It's for you. Do what works for you.
Excellent. And how does someone get a hold of you if they're just dying to learn more from you?
Yes, so my website is conquerthechaos.com. That's a good place to go. There's a productivity quiz on there. You can download a PDF on getting unstuck. You can, sign up for my email. All of the things are on my website. I also have a community on Facebook called Less Clutter, More Peace. And that's a group on Facebook where we dive into all types of clutter. So those are the two best places.
This was a very, very, very enlightening conversation for me, the kinesthetic person that has too much clutter. And so I really appreciate that you shared all your wisdom with us. 26 is the year that I and the audience will eliminate or reduce our clutter. We are going to do it because clutter is holding us back energetically. I'm speaking from my own experience. All right, Carrie, this is your moment of gratitude. When you think about all the amazing moments in your life, which one do you feel the most grateful for?
Are we counting the birth of my children?
If that's the moment.
Those yeah. The birth of my 2 boys, I think I have the most gratitude for. Yeah.
Do you have a third moment?
We've covered it, but that TED Talk really changed so many things for me, and not just business-wise. I mean, it was a profound moment, and the way it came about was not the normal avenue. So that's a story for another day, but it was meant to be. And I'm very, very grateful for that. Yes. I'm also grateful that out of the choices that I had, that I chose University of Florida to go to school. I don't know why that just popped in my head, but that path, I'm grateful for that path.
Thanks for tuning in to Gratitude Geek, the podcast for female solopreneurs over 40 who understand that gratitude is a business strategy. Our theme music is by Rev Brock and Solily. I've been your host, Candice Rodarty. Stay groovy, my friends.
Stay groovy, my friends.